Hey, good morning. Yes, it is. Up and at 'em. It is Monday, June 10th. So I thought there were quite a few comments yesterday on the employment issues. And it's kind of like there's different takes for different folks. And the idea of what makes you more employable. I always looked at did you have the tenacity to go out and try to work when you were younger? Because if you started working when you were younger, that tells me that your parents showed you the value of hard work, and that if you work hard, then they pay you for doing it. But that isn't always 100% the case, all right? But we're going to switch gears for today, and today we're going to talk about toggling. Here you go, Jason. Where do we toggle and where do we not? Stay tuned. All right, so welcome back. My name is Eric, and this is the weekday. So today we're going to talk about toggling. To toggle or not to toggle is the question. Now, I know this is going to be a fun topic for everybody because we all do it, right? And the 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 length and depth people will go to toggle is astounding sometimes. But if we're running a shop, how far is too far? How far is far enough? Knowing that balance, right? Because one of the things that we learned, because I've toggled a lot of things, you know, we also call rigging them, to make them work, to get us by. And a lot of times I did it because I couldn't afford to go out and buy what I needed, right? So I made do with what I had. Ingenuity. And that's fine if you're doing it for yourself. But in a shop, see, this is where it gets a little dicey. Because in a shop, your customer brings you a lawnmower. And all they care is that when they get on it, they turn the key or give it a pull. It's going to start, it's going to run, and it's going to do what it's supposed to do, right? But the biggest problem with toggling things, and there's other words for toggling, but is it seems sensible to you, but to the person that owns it, it's like night and day. You know, Claude is astounding of how he can make things work, where he bypasses a lot of stuff, right? And running a shop again, you can't bypass safety systems. If you do, you can get liability issues up the yin yang if someone gets hurt on that thing. And we've talked about that. When a unit comes in, if it has a faulty or, you know, safety switch has been disabled, we enable it. And then the customer is more than welcome to disable it once they get it home. But you could say, well, it was a faulty safety switch, so I saved the customer money by bypassing it so that they could still use it and could afford to pay for it. All right, so what else are you willing to take a chance on? I'm just asking because, I mean, when we first started, we were doing exactly that. We didn't know that you could be held liable. We weren't doing warranty at the time. We were just working Just like I suggested to many of you, weekend warriors, you know, after work at night and on weekends. But as I was making the business legit, and when I say legit, I was going after warranties on all the different manufacturers. It became apparent that yes, it is a big issue. Because if somebody gets hurt on that lawnmower, that trimmer, that chainsaw, if it just came out of the shop, and the reason that person got hurt was because of something that the shop did, the shop very much so is liable. That's so. So we don't want to do safety switches, right? Now I'm all for, as long as it is safe and operates the way it should, use parts. Save customer money there. Bad faulty key switch, replace the key switch with a used one out of a junker. Fine. I have no problems with that. Safety switches. Taking the safety switches out of, older machines that are still operable and putting it in that. Yeah, that's fine. It's when you start bypassing a lot of stuff. Like, instead of replacing the key switch, you decide that you're going to run a toggle switch for on and off, and now all the safety features that were in that switch are now bypassed. Now, you could do that as a homeowner or a do-it-yourselfer. You could even get away with that if you're not a legitimate shop. But if you're what I call a reputable shop, you can't do that kind of work. You really can't. And that's what I mean by toggling. There's a toggle switch. That's why they call it toggling, right? It's doing shortcuts that shouldn't be doing shortcuts. I mean, most of us know that one way to eliminate the whole safety switch system is to unplug the coil wire, right? It's a grounding wire. And if the engine runs, then we know that it's something to do with the wiring, something to do with a safety switch. Now, I've seen different homeowners run a grounding wire on a flip switch directly to that coil and bypass the whole system. And that's fine if you've got a manual PTO, but if you've got electric PTO, now that electric PTO is operating on, a series of switches, and if they're working properly, so now you're going to have to do a workaround on the PTO clutch if it's electric. Or you're going to put a toggle switch on that, so it's electromagnetic. It's either on or off. And do away with the switch and have one wire going to hot and not, and just see, where do you stop is what I'm getting at. And where do we draw the line of, is it safe? And one of the things that I learned rather quickly, and I still get reminded of it, is if you don't do it right the first time, it's going to come back. And that customer is going to be irate that you didn't fix it the right time. Fix it right the first time. And I know there's certain customers that will expect you to maintain that customer's lawnmower all summer long, no matter what they do with it and what abusive things they've done to it. But it doesn't look good as a shop owner if you check off that it's ready to go, and the customer's calling you back later that afternoon because it's not working properly. And you're like, well, I thought we had it. Thought is not an option. You got to get out and try the mowers before you send them back. That's one of the biggest things that I see. People will start to rev it up, but they won't go out and actually mow with it. See what it does when it mows. So they'll just think, well, we got that fixed, and they'll send it back, only to find out once you put the lawnmower under load, something different happens. And you missed it because you never put it under load. So it's always good to test and run things before you send it home. I mean, what do you guys do in your shop? What do you do? Where is your line in the sand of, is it okay to bypass a safety switch? Is it okay to go directly to the solenoid or goes directly to the coil, the wire on the coil, and just bypass the system? Run a hot to the PTO clutch? I like to hear. But it's always a question that poses itself when we're working on customers' machines. And when I say we've learned things from the past, right? Time, we get experience, we get wisdom. And over time, I found that it would have been farther ahead just to go ahead and buy the right part. All right? Get it installed and bill the customer. It is what it is. But at least when it leaves that shop, most often, you don't see it back for another season. And trying to save a customer money is fine. But you have to be careful that you save the shop as well. Because if you do something to try to save money, and then it comes back, now you're going to have to redo, and probably put the new part on to make it right out of your own pocket. You got a customer that's being pissy. Don't blame them a bit because you told them it was ready to go. So we're back to square one of how we just put on the new part. We wouldn't have had the irate customer and the redo. We waited, the part came in, we put the part on, and we shipped it out. And it is what it is. Now we've got a customer right now that's got a John Deere 850. It's a diesel 3-cylinder. And by all looks, the injector pump is having issues. Now, we've got 3 options. We can buy a used one on eBay or one of the salvage yards. We can send it away and have it rebuilt. Or third, we can go out and buy a brand new one. Now, all 3 are viable options, right? But we found with, throwing on a used one, most often the case is worn out is the one that we just replaced, right? If we have it rebuilt, it's only as good as the condition of the chambers, seals, and everything else. Even though it's rebuilt, they will tell you with it being an older pump that it's not guaranteed. And then even if you buy new, there's no guarantees. And a lot of times, I'll tell you right now, if you go on to eBay or Amazon and you buy a new one, it is a new aftermarket. And I have found it's greater than 50%. The pump that you get versus the pump you ordered is not going to be the same. It's not going to line up right. The bolt patterns aren't going to be right. And you need to, it's because if you're sitting there waiting for that aftermarket pump to come in a week or two, so it's down, and then you finally get it and find out it won't work, so now you got to send the freaking thing back and try to find the correct one. Because that's what we're looking at right now. A used one going to set the customer back around $500-$600. A used OEM one. To have it rebuilt is about the same money. To get a new aftermarket one is around $650-$700. To get a new OEM one is closer to $1,200 to $1,500. So what do you do as a shop? What am I doing? We're going to bring it home on the trailer today. I want to get it in the shop. I'm not 100% sold on it being the injector pump. Because he said it quit on him, and we found a fuel line that had come off that fed the injector pump. I think we're just not getting enough. We're not getting the air out of the pump. And it's easier to work on it right there in the shop where I've got my tools versus out in the field trying to work out of the back of a Polaris Ranger. Just don't cut it. You don't have the tools that you need. The specialty tools to check pressure and vacuum and anything else to know what it's doing. But that's what I mean. That's the dilemma that you face every day as a shop. On the gal, that's why Claude didn't want to work on her stuff. That, it started off with, just replace the one blade. Well, ended up being all three blades were gone. And it would just replace the drive belts. But I want my old drive belts back in case I need them. And as Travis said, which is the smarter thing to do, is should have just never paid attention to her and just cut the belts. That would have saved a lot of time. And then just put the new ones on. And it was all this stuff that she's trying to save herself money, but it's costing her, right? And the deck belt had already been blown, all right? That was a big issue when it came in. So I put that belt on, and I looked at the secondary belt on the pulleys. And I'm telling Claude, that looks like his weather check. Should we? No, he said, because she's not going to be happy. Well, guess what? Within, she said, 10 minutes, the secondary belt blew apart. And she thought the deck wasn't level. Well, we didn't level anything because she didn't want us to do anything more. So when I called her back on Friday, I said, look, you either want us to fix it right or not at all. One or the other, because I can't play this game of trying to save you money and this constant thought process, everybody's out to screw you. It is what it is. So what do you want? Because last year I tried to get her to go to Lowe's or Home Depot. I said, for the money you put into these crappy lawnmowers, you could be driving a brand new one and have a monthly payment is cheaper than what you are paying to have these continually fixed to keep them going. It's all honesty. For what she was paying through repairs, because she wasn't just using us. She was using other shops that she was dropping crap off to. That she could have hired somebody to mow the friggin' yard all summer long. Although I know she enjoys her yard work and her gardening and all that stuff. But that's the dilemma that we face as a shop owner every day and as a shop mechanic, is we can't push the boundaries when it comes to safety. And we need to decide, can we get away with the used part if we have it there? And our goal is that the customer is happy, the customer is safe, the equipment works the way it should, and we don't see them until the following spring when they need a service done. That's what I look at. So let me know what you think in the comments. Because, it's like you were saying, Jason, workarounds. Workarounds are fine. Totally. But again, it's toggling, workaround, rigging, whatever you want to call it. Where do we draw the line in the sand as a mechanic and as a shop owner? On that note, you guys have a great Monday. I can just hardly wait to see these comments. And we'll see you here bright and early tomorrow morning. Thanks so much for watching.